UCLA alum and former NFL running back and now head coach of UCLA football, DeShaun Foster, has brought in a coaching staff with years of NFL experience to help transform UCLA football to an elite program. Foster has brought in names like former Chiefs and Commanders offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy to be his associate head coach and offensive coordinator, as well as former Eagles offensive line coach Juan Castillo, who has almost 30 years of NFL experience to be his offensive line coach. I have former NFL running back Dana Sanders joining us to break down DeShaun Foster as a coach, UCLA's coaching staff, and how Foster will develop UCLA football back to an elite program, helping his players get to the NFL. See you on the other side. Dana, thank you for joining us. With DeShaun Foster being a former NFL running back, UCLA alum, and now he's bringing in names like Eric Bieniemy, Juan Castillo, and others, how do you feel as though at a program like UCLA, where it's really, really hard to, as a student, to even get into, how do you feel he will transform UCLA football?
Um, when you look at the system, you have to look at where a lot of the good athletes come from. A lot of times they don't come out of the best neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at a coaching staff that, a staff that's pretty much, and quite a few black coaches on there,
Mm-hmm.
they come from the same place. So they know how to motivate kids that come from that particular area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, as him, because is he out of Oakland? I think the head coach, he didn't grow up the way the average young white kid would grow up. He grew up like I did, coming out like your dad, actually, coming out of areas that, you'll see a lot of prominent black people or black men. Yeah. So I think that when you get a coaching staff that kids can look up to and go, oh, I can do that. I can be that. I want to work for this guy. And that's what DeShaun did over, in Colorado.
Sure.
So I think that if he's given the resources he needs, he can make a change over there. Because I know UCLA, they hold very high academic standards. But the kids, if you allow these kids the opportunity to show what they can do, and not just on the field, but in the classroom. If you say, look, you get your grades up just to a 2.5 or something where you can live off of that GPA, you can function in society and move up, then we can give you an opportunity to play football and even maybe get to the NFL. But you can get that opportunity here. And that's what I think he brings to the team. He can sit back and he can say, look, I've been where you are. I struggled with my grades at one time because I know I did when I was at Michigan State.
And Foster played at UCLA, so he out of all coaches who went there, it ain't easy to pass or even get into that school. He out of all the coaches can relate there and tell his kids like, look, this is what you got to do to get through. You know what I'm saying?
So what better coach could there be? So really, there's not a whole lot more to say about that with him, because if he came from UCLA and he knows how the school operates, he can just plug these kids into the system, and actually hang on to some of his good transfers too.
Another thing I wanted to say, Foster, he brought in Eric Bieniemy, former NFL running back. He was the Chiefs offensive coordinator for about 7 years. A lot of people are calling for him to get a head coaching job. He ends up going to the Commanders last year on a struggling kind of Commanders team.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera gets fired, and Foster brings him in as his associate head coach and offensive coordinator. I think with Foster being a younger head coach, bringing in Bieniemy, who's a prominent name, people have to respect him. He's old school. I mean, on the JB show, we just did a story about how Bieniemy last year wouldn't allow his players to wear backwards hats. I mean, that's he is old school. Yeah, exactly. He's old school like that. How do you feel that hire will impact UCLA football?
Well, like I said, he's another coach that looks like them. He comes from a background where he actually had a chance to coach. And like I said before, it's all about being able to look up at these guys and say, I can be where you are. It gives you, it's like you put a gold nugget on the top of a ladder. Say, you can get up there and get that. You just have to figure out how.
Yeah.
The reward is right there. You just have to know how to get to it. So I got to it, so you can get to it the way I did, or you can, create your own way. Yeah. But either way, you have the motivation to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he brings. He got to the point where he was a head coach in the NFL. And if you look back in the past 33 years, there's only been 39 Power 5 coaches, black coaches in college football.
Mm-hmm.
35, I would say is it 35?
I forget the number.
Yeah, no. Out of the past 33 years, there's only been 39 Power 5 black coaches. That's what it is. So, and then you look at the NFL, there's over 500 different head coaches, and only 25 of them were Native American, which I call black people, so I'll leave that.
Yeah.
And I'll leave that alone right now. But, there's only 25 black head coaches.
No, I hear it.
Out of 500, man. So when you bring in coaches like this, and you can see their progression, then you can pattern yourself after that progression. You can see the steps they took, and all you have to do is take the same steps. Or if you have the ability, or you can see different things they couldn't see, you could leapfrog their steps and get there even quicker. But I think it's an excellent thing UCLA is doing. And I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with, especially when these athletic guys can see themselves in those coaches.
No, that's very well said. I respect that. Last thing I wanted to ask you. So they brought in coaches with a lot of NFL experience, and with putting out kids towards the NFL. I think, in this transfer portal NIL era, kids are looking for that. They're looking at, hey, if I can go here, can you transform me into an NFL player? Foster having played in the NFL, prominent with the Panthers as a running back. Bieniemy having played in the NFL and coached for a very long time in the NFL, and along with others they've hired as well. Do you think the staff can help, develop players and really get them ready to go transition to the NFL?
Yes and no. The problem they're going to have with developing young players is that you look at the history of these guys before this transfer portal and all this. Kids they were resilient because you couldn't transfer another school. And if you got to a school and there's a running back ahead of you or two ahead of you, you had to stay and work your ass off. Your conviction was stronger. So, and the coaches helped you with your conviction. Here, these kids don't have that. If they feel that a back has come in that's better than them, or a linebacker or two linebackers that are better than them, they can look at those two guys. Well, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. I'm going to transfer someplace else. And that's what the coaches have to deal with. Right. They can't say, look, you're here. If you want to play, you got to get up in the morning. You got to go run the stadium stairs. You got to get up, hit those weights every morning. Because that's what I did. I got up and ran. I would put cones out on the football field. I'd throw the ball in there as high as I could and catch it, and then take off through the cones down the field. Every morning I did that before I got to Michigan State. So I'm just saying, you want to – they can do it. But the problem is that the kids are going to feel entitled. And now that they have this ability to say, I don't like you, I don't have to play for you, I'm going to go someplace else. That's what the coach is going to have to deal with. And that's what makes it so hard in the NFL.
Yeah, that is very true.
So, that's the guy making more money than you.
No, you make a hell of a point with the transfer portal.